And joining me now, Pitt head coach Jeff Capel. And Jeff, you've done a number of rebuilding jobs and been a couple different stops. Where are you in the process of getting Pitt basketball back to where you want it to be, which is obviously near the top, competing at the top of the ACC?
Yeah, well, it's been an interesting 4-year journey. When I took this over, the 4 years ago, the position of where the program was, it had just finished its 4th year in a new neighborhood, which is the ACC. Historically, it's one of the traditional Big East members, coming off of a really tough season. And I felt like we were taking some strides, and then we had some adversity. In a 2-year period, you had a global pandemic that affected the world. And then once that started to open up a little bit, you had one-time transfer and you have name, image, and likeness. And one of the things that I learned early in my tenure here was a lot of people have never been to Pittsburgh, and most people have an opinion of what they think Pittsburgh is. And I would say, Andy, about 95 to 99% of the kids we brought here on a visit, at some point, inevitably during the weekend, them and their parents have said, this is nothing like I expected. And so we went a little bit over a year where we couldn't have anyone on campus, and that hurt us. And so with things opening up right now again, where we can have kids on campus, where we can go out, we can do recruiting, we can evaluate live, I think that's helped us. I think we did a good job this past off season of adding some more talent, more depth, more quality depth to our roster. And I'm excited about where we are right now. And hopefully that leads to us taking a giant step forward this upcoming season.
Yeah, I will say I have been there many times. It's in a great part of Pittsburgh. It's sort of a hidden gem in that neighborhood. I would just say work on your quads and your calves because you got to climb some hills.
No question.
But I love that area. So I'm here to say that. So in terms of an identity, everyone throws culture around, but what would be the identity you want Pitt basketball to be known for going forward?
Well, I want us to be tough. That's the main thing. When I think of this program, and as a fan of college basketball, I've always known about this program. And when I always thought of it, I thought of toughness, grit, blue collar, incredible togetherness, and then a team that just doesn't beat itself. That's what I want us to be. Now we've shown some toughness over the 4 years. We've shown some grit. We have to be more together all the time. That's an area where we have to take a big leap, and then to just play intelligent basketball.
You've already had some great wins. What's the key to stringing them together, to not have the dips?
The biggest thing, Andy, for us, man, is just to be together, is to all be on the same page, to have one agenda. It's tougher to do that now with social media and with so many distractions that young people have. Also, when you're rebuilding a program, it's a little bit harder. It's different when you have something that's established and you have older guys that can teach kind of your identity, your culture, the values of your program. We don't have that. We haven't had that since I've gotten here. We've never had an opportunity to get old. And so hopefully with some of the additions that we made this year, we're older. Now, maybe guys in their first year here, but at least they're older. And so hopefully they have a little bit more security in who they are. And we can start to develop that.
You've had unbelievable mentors. Growing up in the house with a great coach, obviously playing and working with Coach K. When you look back at your mentors that influenced you, what stands out the most? And I know it's hard to pick out one or two things, but just what do you think of?
Well, it's definitely those two guys, my father, Coach K. I would throw my high school coach in there, God rest his soul, Coach Miller. The three things I think that those men have in common is that they're fighters. And if you look at each of them and the programs that they established, Southview Senior High School, my dad, whether it was Fayetteville State, whether it was Old Dominion, when he went to the G League and he won at a high level there, it was the D League at the time. And obviously Coach K, they took over situations that were tough. in areas where you have a lot of stuff going on, but they were able to establish in their programs the ability to fight and fight together. And to me, that's how you win. That's how you win consistently, if you can get a group to buy into that. And that's where hopefully we take a giant leap forward this year, and we're able to do that on a consistent basis.
You mentioned the Big East, the tournament, the Legends Classic in the New York area, Barclays, Brooklyn. What is it about getting Pitt basketball, maybe once a year or every other year, to make sure that you're playing back in that New York area?
Well, it's huge for us. Since I took over the job, it's something that I've wanted to do. We've tried to do. We've tried to be intentional about getting back up to New York City and playing. We have a large alumni base in New York City. There have been some great moments for Pitt basketball in New York City, whether it was the Big East tournament, whether it's playing St. John's or Seton Hall in the area. I know everyone talks about a win they had. I think it was in 2010 or 11, maybe 9, against Duke in the Garden. So anytime we have a chance, last year we had an unbelievable game against St. John's up in the Garden where we won on the last second shot. So anytime we get a chance to go back up there, it's a very fertile base for recruiting for our program. It's an unbelievable alumni base. And man, it's the city. It's the electricity of the city, and having a chance to play up there. There's nothing like playing in New York City.
Well, Jeff, I appreciate it. I just feel like this is going to be that year where things get better and better on a consistent basis. Appreciate you taking the time. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Andy.